so much for giving up some of your time to have a chat with me. So we obviously actually met, I was thinking about this the other day, we met through a workshop that we ran at the end of last year, which was really focusing on, thinking a little bit about your health and prioritising your health for the year ahead. And we've obviously been working together for the last 3 months. And the reason why I wanted to spend some time with you was, obviously you came to me looking for some support with some of your health goals, which we'll talk about in a minute. But during the course of us working together over the last few months, I've actually found you really inspiring for, just for anyone, I guess, because of the proactive approach that you've taken to your health, but particularly having gotten to know and understand more about, your struggles with cystic fibrosis. So, you're nearly 40. You were born with cystic fibrosis. So tell us a little bit about that and, what the sort of last part of your life has been like with managing, such a debilitating condition.
Sure. Well, thank you again so much for having me. It's been an absolute joy working with you over the past 3 months, and I'm so excited. We haven't talked in a few weeks, so I'm just thrilled to be back talking to you again. And I appreciate the opportunity. So, as you mentioned, yes, I was born with cystic fibrosis. For those who may not be aware of what that is, it's a genetic illness that impacts primarily the lungs and unfortunately leads to chronic and progressive deterioration of the lungs over time, ultimately leading to people with it to need a lung transplant. So it was pretty difficult growing up, knowing that maybe I'd live to be 16, 18 years old was really the prognosis back in the 80s. As you mentioned, I'm 40, so spoiler alert, things have gotten better.
Amazing woman.
Thank you so much. But yeah, my childhood was really characterized by having to do hours and hours of breathing treatments in the morning before going to school, and then again in the evening prior to going to bed, just to maintain kind of the basic health and basic function that I think most people don't even have to think twice about in terms of their lungs. I would often get pneumonia and lung infections that would land me in the hospital for 2 weeks at a time for intravenous IV antibiotics to get rid of that pneumonia, and just pretty disruptive and time consuming. But the good news is a few years ago, and I think just recently in Australia, a medication came to the market for about 90% of people with CF that's been really a game changer in terms of stabilizing our health, keeping us out of the hospital, and helping us take deeper breaths and hopefully living longer. So lots of exciting news.
So exciting that there is something. And I guess it's that thing, isn't it? You said you were only expected to live to about 16. And, that obviously must have been really tough as a child growing up with something like that, where you're spending hours a day doing breathing treatments and so on. And then even, as an adult, like I know that you've had to really prioritize, managing stress and trying to actually build up your physical strength with, what capacity that you had. That must have been tough as a kid growing up, like mentally, because honestly, like I find you one of the most positive and inspiring people that I've ever met. How did you sort of manage that mentally? Like, have you sort of worked on your mindset over the years, or how did you kind of not get into this like, woe is me, why did this happen to me? Because, it could have been quite a different picture for you, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. My blood sugar's falling a little bit, so I'm just going to take one of these real quick, if that's okay with you. Just a little sugar thing, and then I'll answer.
Not running it, an Ironman and needing to take a gel. But yeah, that was actually something else that I learned from chatting with Amy, was that there's diabetes associated with cystic fibrosis. So not only have you got that, you've also got cystic fibrosis related diabetes. Is that the term?
Yeah. Yes, that's precisely right. Kind of the same mechanism that damages our lungs with extra mucus in our lungs. We have extra mucus in our digestive tract. So without giving everyone a full-on anatomy lesson, essentially the pancreas is clogged with mucus and beta cells are destroyed, giving us, insulin deficiency and diabetes in that respect. So thanks for that pause to ingest.
All good. But it's great. Like I want it to be natural, but how do you manage your mindset around all that stuff? Like even then, when you got diabetes, you must think, oh my gosh, like one more thing. Like, how have you done it?
Yeah. I was very fortunate and I have amazing parents that were very encouraging, and quite frankly got me into therapy very young. Specifically, when I started to struggle around 9 years old with kind of mindset and more frequent hospitalizations. I also think, focusing on what I did have. I think it's very easy to focus on what we don't, and we all have things. I'm not unique in having struggles. Everyone who's listening right now has had struggles. Sharon, you have as well. But as most of us who kind of study mindset, we know that our mind can only focus on a certain number of things at a time. And if we specifically point it to things that we're grateful for, that can really, change our world. You mentioned, and I mentioned some of the treatments I had to do that were very time consuming. My very wise mother would always remind me, you don't have to do your treatments. You get to do your treatments.
Yeah.
There are people around. Yeah. There are people around the world that have your illness that don't have access to this medication. How fortunate you are. So just shifting that in terms of being able to really be appreciative for what I do have. It's a big gift. So I've tried to carry that, during my childhood, obviously, but into adulthood as well.
And that's, I think, why, you are so inspiring, because you have shown that, even for those of us who are, really healthy, sometimes people don't actually have that focus and that real positive mindset about what's happening for them. So I absolutely love that. And I think that is the big difference, isn't it? It is that mindset and choosing your attitude, because, it is one of the things that's in our control, believe it or not. Sometimes I think people think that their attitudes and so on are out of their control, but you get to choose, you get to decide how you're wanting to approach that situation. So here you are now at 40. So I know when we sort of met, you had spent a lot of time, I know managing stress was something that was really important for you, to sort of, keep your health under control. It was building up your physical strength and fitness. And obviously that was, within different limitations than other people have. So you're already doing lots of positive things for your health. So tell us a little bit about when you sort of connected with me after that workshop, what it was that you were looking to change about your health and why that was so important for you.
I love thinking about this time because it was so serendipitous, and I feel so fortunate that we were able to connect, because one of the interesting things about cystic fibrosis and growing up with the illness is a lot of us are chronically underweight because of malabsorption issues. So when I think back to my childhood and growing up, I'll keep this brief as to why I wanted to work with you, but essentially, I needed to change the way that I was eating. I was really prioritizing, when we first met, of how to set myself up for longevity and for a healthy life, kind of the second part of my life, right? I think of this Amy 2.0 type thing prior to this life-changing cystic fibrosis medication, and then post. I developed eating habits when I was younger that were really kind of survival based. I needed to eat a lot of calories to maintain this chronically low weight that I always had with CF. Doctors told my parents to, whatever she wants to eat, feed her, because she's always going to be hungry. Her body weight's always going to be low. And surprising, as I got healthy on this new medication, those old habits were still sitting around in my head, but were no longer serving me, because I'm a middle-aged woman without breathing problems, not burning a ton of calories, coughing all the time. So yeah, essentially I wanted to change the way I was nourishing myself and set myself up for a lot of health in the future. And I felt like I didn't really have the tools. I wanted to get that support that I knew you could provide.
And that's why I think I was so excited to work with you, because it was about, I've decided I really want to set myself up for this next chapter. So many people, when it comes to their health, don't prioritize their health and even think about that next chapter. We just get on the hamster wheel of life. We just keep doing what we've always done. And, it can end up leading down a path that people sometimes don't realize until it's, too late, or, they get a diagnosis, or they end up at a certain stage where they don't want to be. So that excited me, was that you were so proactive and really wanting to actually learn more. So what was sort of some of the areas? I mean, you've already mentioned your eating habits that you had, and a lot of that conditioning when we're children can, carry over into adulthood and can be really hard to change. But what were some of the areas maybe that you were sort of confused about food?
Well, I think, and maybe folks listening to this can relate, I wasn't really sure, what really is good for me, what really is healthy. There's at least here stateside and maybe worldwide, but there's kind of this diet culture and different fad diets. And, in the 90s, it was Atkins, where you just ate high fat, high protein. And then there was low fat, later on. And I really had no education in terms of what truly was best for me to eat. So there was hesitation and confusion there. And then, I really never cooked. Cooking wasn't a skill that I frankly had time to build, because I was so busy spending a lot of time just keeping myself alive. So how to cook, what to cook with, when to cook, how to create a shopping list and plan and all that just wasn't something it felt really overwhelming. So I think both of those things were my main focus.
Oh, overwhelming is honestly the best word for it, because nutrition is really confusing. And I love what you just sort of said about diets. And, there's 100 different diets out there. Mm-hmm. And it can be, you hear all the latest things and people can get caught up in that. And it can just add, like a massive layer of confusion. So what are some of the things that you sort of learned? I mean, we obviously spent, 3 months, 90 days together. Yes. What were some of the sort of biggest takeaways that you got from, our time together?
The best part, the overall umbrella, was the practicality of all of it. I was overwhelmed, or I felt overwhelmed kind of coming into this journey, but I love the way you were able to really break things down and go step by step. So the first thing that you did, and I still think about you when I cook, is I cleaned out my kitchen with my husband. What a genius idea. It just didn't even occur to me that, let's get things organized. Let's get rid of things that, don't serve me. I have new pots and pans that I love, that I enjoy cooking with. But even down to that, was there something, this non-stick stuff, is that something, that wasn't good for my body, and, how to go through that. So that kind of basic skeletal infrastructure of my kitchen and not being afraid of it and getting organized and sorted in that way was fantastic. And then I think through, what's on my fridge. You and I spoke about, portions and what, percent of my plate should be veggies versus protein, and all of that. So really, really simple rules of thumb to think about, and all the way down to mindfulness while eating. I still think of you, Sharon, as I sit down and, well, I'm used to multitasking, right? Who doesn't multitask if we're honest with ourselves? And if I can eat and then, do something else while work, well, gosh, maybe I'm saving some time. Maybe that habit doesn't serve me. So now I really think about the food and how it's going to taste as I prepare it. I take nice deep breaths and I slow down as I eat. And I focus on one task at a time. So, I could go on and on, but little bits like that, in addition to the recipes and the ability to plan for my week and meal plan in that way, it's just been a game changer for me. And none of it's overwhelming. It's really fun, actually.
Awesome. And I think that's the most important thing, is that people think healthy living's hard, and we want to enjoy life. Like food's a big part of our social fabric. And, the reason why people have fallen into a lot of bad habits is because we are so busy. And so, like you said, I can save time eating if I keep on working, and, we don't want to cook because we don't want to spend time. So it's all about, making it really simple and easy. So was there anything that sort of surprised you at all?
I think I had always associated eating high carbohydrate, highly processed foods with feeling satisfied and satiated. And that might just be my, different cystic fibrosis body or habits. I don't know. But I think I had in the back of my mind this mindset that if I ate healthy, maybe I wouldn't be satisfied. Maybe I would feel unfulfilled. And not only do I crave healthy foods now, do I crave these healthy recipes, but I feel satisfied and satiated for a long time. So it's really this mindset shift that, healthy just doesn't taste good, or, healthy is going to be a struggle. Quite the opposite. My body's overjoyed with being fed better nutrients and, the energy I have. So, I was really kind of getting in my own way in terms of mindset, kind of going back to that. So I'm pleasantly surprised by that here on the other side of our work together.
I think the other thing I just heard you say was mindful, like being more mindful when you eat. And I think that's the other thing too, is often we just do it as a habit, or we eat because it's dinner time. We don't think about, oh, how is that food actually sitting in my stomach? How does it affect my energy levels, you know, a couple of hours later? So being more mindful and tuning into your body, and also too, I guess, you know, your nutrition needs change over time. Like you were saying, you know, when you're a child or a teenager, how you ate then needs to change as we all get older, regardless of what, you know, underlying conditions that we've got. So tell us, what changes have you sort of implemented over the last 90 days? What are the things that you've done that have stuck?
Yes. So I don't order takeout most days a week. So thankfully, you know, my pocketbook thanks me for that as well. But on the weekends, my husband and I meal plan. So we plan out what we're going to do for the week. We shop. I shop at the grocery store 2 to 3 times a week to be able to make sure I have everything I need to meal plan. And yeah, and I'm not kind of grazing. I was a grazer for a while, probably because I just wasn't eating, you know, appropriately the right nutrients and all of that. So it has been a lifestyle change, but it's been manageable. So it's really the planning and, you know, my grocery store I'm now more familiar with, as opposed to ordering takeout on my phone. That's what I do every week.
Yeah, awesome. And it's just those little habits, isn't it? Putting those in place and just slowly building on those. I remember when you first, you know, when we first started, it was like, let's just cook one meal. And I think you said, no, I want to do 2. And so it was making 2 meals. And then just before, when we were chatting before we started, you were saying that you're cooking 3 nights a week and Joel's cooking 3 nights a week, which is awesome. It's more than most people. So yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. And I also remember too, something I really loved was when you said to me, you know, when you first started, that it actually was something that you guys were doing together, and it even just helped, you know, your relationship, just jumping in the kitchen and making a meal together and chatting over that, which, you know, that's something really lovely as well that I think I remember hearing come out of it for you, which was good.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Getting a spouse or a partner involved always makes it more fun. And I think more sustainable because, yeah, you kind of, you know, form habits together as a couple.
Yeah, awesome. So, and it has a spin-off benefit for him as well, doesn't it? When it comes to health, you know?
Very important. Yes.
So what sort of changes have you noticed, like for yourself physically and mentally, that this sort of change of lifestyle and change of eating has made for you?
Well, as you may recall, when we first started to work together, I had 2 sets of skin problems that I didn't really understand. I'd visited some doctors about and gotten some what we call lotions and potions, you know, just trying to fix. But I love this concept that you and I talked about some of these issues start from the inside out. So had some eczema patches on the back of my head, my hairline there, and on my eyebrow, and some acne along here. And while I still have that on occasion, it is nowhere near. And so I'm not overly vain, but I do like the fact that I do see some, you know, external results based on what undoubtedly is better eating, being more mindful, stress reduction, and the like.
Have you noticed any changes like to your physical body otherwise, or energy levels, or mentally?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely have been building better muscle tone, lean muscle tone at the gym. I think that's a direct result of eating better protein, you know, just better nutritional status. And also, yeah, definitely more energy. That afternoon slump where I needed the, you know, cup of caffeine, you know, I'm just better able to understand if that does occur, which it doesn't as much, you know, how to address that in maybe a way where I don't need a stimulant. So yeah, definitely energy and physical changes in terms of strength have been great.
That is excellent. So just one last question. So what would be your advice to anyone who's, you know, feels stuck, maybe worried, you know, whether they are struggling with cystic fibrosis or whether they're just maybe just on that hamster wheel where they just feel like overwhelmed with all the information out there? What would be your advice to someone who might feel stuck and is a bit worried about maybe making a change to their health?
I love the expression choose your hard. You know, this is how I frame things, and maybe it'll encourage some people. It is hard to take the leap to, you know, work with an amazing woman like Sharon, or decide to be proactive about your health and change a habit. But it's also hard to stay stuck on that hamster wheel, or stay stuck in not being energetic, or stay stuck in having a body that, isn't as healthy as you want. So my proposition is choose your hard. Both options are hard. And if they're equally hard, take that leap. Invest in yourself. You deserve it. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So get proactive. I know I've got all the sayings, right? I'm a big
health coach, Amy.
But it's true, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm just thinking these are all the things that I say to people. So with all this extra, energy, and you're really well set up, what are your big goals? Because I know that share a little bit about what you want to do. You've got some massive goals, which is so exciting. Just share a little bit about those goals as well. I'd love to just hear about that and what you're excited for this next chapter.
Thank you. Well, my husband and I have a lot of charitable goals that we're really excited about. We live in Los Angeles. The public educational system here isn't as great as we would like it to be. And there's definitely a segment of the population, particularly where my husband grew up in East Los Angeles, that are quite socioeconomically disadvantaged and underserved. So we support after-school programs that my husband benefited from when he was young. And we are just thrilled to be able to donate financially, as well as with our time, to be able to give these children, all children deserve the opportunity to grow up and live fulfilling lives with that great educational base. Then we also have goals to help children that are ill, specifically a segment of the cystic fibrosis population that isn't benefiting from the miracle medication that I'm on. So we really orient a lot of our business goals. I'm a business owner. He works very hard at his job, but we really orient those goals and those activities around how we can donate and positively impact the world.
Which is so, and again, it's another thing I find so inspiring, and it's the fact that you've got massive goals, like for what you want to do with to donate to charity. So not only are you inspiring with what you've done with your health, but it's also so inspiring with just your generosity of spirit and wanting to help other people as well. So you are certainly someone who has had lots of struggles, but overcome them. And I think that's the thing. My takeout is that you can choose to overcome whatever you want. It's all about your mindset. You mentioned choose your hard, but you've also chosen that you want more for your life, and that you want to make the best for your life, not just for you, but also to help other people around you, which is so inspiring. So I am really looking forward to, I think we've sort of built a friendship over,
Yes.
Like I felt when we got on before we started this, it was like catching up with an old friend, and I know that we're going to keep in touch, and we've even got a few little ideas that maybe we can talk about in terms of, fundraisers and so on. So I'm really looking forward to watching your progress. And I really hope that, for anyone who's watched that, if you are struggling with an underlying condition, or you want to make some changes to your health, just, hearing Amy's attitude about it all, that it is about, no one can do this for you. I think that's the thing, it's your life, it's your health. You can go see a health coach, a personal trainer, a nutritionist. They can give you all the tools, but at the end of the day, they're not there doing it for you. So I think that's the thing is, your health is in your hands, which is my whole philosophy. So you've definitely really been inspiring, Amy, with what you've shared and what you want to do with your life. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you giving your time up, and I hope that there can be some people who might be really inspired and encouraged from your story.
Thank you. And thank you so much for all the great work we've done together. It has been transformational, and I'm just so grateful that we crossed paths. And I love that everyone gets an opportunity to be able to work with you and improve their lives as well. Truly, if you're on the fence or thinking about it, go for it. This will change your life, and you'll be so grateful to know Sharon.
Thanks, Amy. Thank you so much. All right.